Okay, please put your hands together for the one more, Faith Adelaja. Let's put our hands together for her. Where is Faith? Gift Adelaja, sorry, Gift Adelaja. Please put your hands together for her. And please help me celebrate everybody in the overflow. All right. Have your seat. All right. Gift is my friend from the north. All right, please introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Modupe Gift Adelaja.
Okay. Did you hear what she said? Some people said no, so introduce. Some people said no, so that's how she talks. So, but this time, slow down.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Modupe Gift Adelaja.
Okay. So I will ask a question based on, I know you came from the north. So can I say just a few things about coming from the north to the south?
So I was born and brought up in the north, Bauchi State to be specific. I spent the first 19 years of my life there. Both my parents are Yoruba, by the way. So I grew up learning Hausa because my dad was more insistent on us. He was in the academics line already, so he was more insistent. I guess maybe being in the north, he was more insistent on us being able to speak English properly. He didn't want us to have those intonations of the north and all of that. So anytime we're at home and he mistakenly even catches you speaking Hausa, you're in trouble. So he was always correcting our tenses. Oh, say this way, say this that way. So after I finished my secondary school, graduated with good results, wrote my JAMB, WAEC, NECO at once, I cleared everything. I always felt like my purpose was in medicine because I was always good in science subject. I loved helping people and all of that. Funny enough, I feared blood, but I wanted to study medicine. So I looked in my first year, I tried, I applied. I got called for post-UTMEs. My first was OAU, I did OAU, I did OOU. I came down to the south, I wrote the exams, post-UTMEs, I passed. But for some reason, I couldn't get admission. It was always the OOU gave me physiology, but I didn't get anything in OAU. And I came back home and I was so sad because it's a different thing if you didn't prepare for something.
Yeah.
But I had put in the work, I had prepared, I had prayed, and I just kept on feeling like this was supposed to be what I was supposed to be doing. So why was it so difficult? But I didn't get discouraged. So after the first year, I told my dad I was going to try again. But daddy was like, no, you will start something first. So, and I'm so glad he pushed me to do that. So I started my national diploma at a federal polytechnic in Bauchi State in nutrition and dietetics. I don't know the word to use. I did not want to be there because I felt like that's not what I was supposed to be doing, and I was not really feeling challenged. I mean, my first year, I had 4.0 all over 4.0. Like, I didn't feel like they were doing anything that was really what I wanted to do. But I kept on pushing and pushing. And for 3 years, I wrote JAMB every year. I applied to different schools, but I couldn't get medicine. Not that I wasn't scoring high. I was scoring high, 250, 260, but I couldn't get that medicine. In the final year when I graduated from poly, I wrote JAMB again. My dad was like, okay, I know someone at Bayero State University in Kano. Let's try there. The person was on the admissions board in Bayero State University, so I wrote again. I went there to write the post-UTME. I passed. The professor was like, don't worry, just start packing your bags. You're coming to school in September. We called. It was like, every time we call him, it was like, don't worry, I've submitted your name. Your name is already on the admissions list. Once they upload it, you'll see it. I said, okay, me too. I started packing my bags. I started writing my university list and all of that. Lo and behold, the admission came out. My name was not there. That was the first list. He was like, don't worry, the second one is coming out. I said, okay. The second one came out. There was nothing. He said, yes, still provisional admission. Don't worry. Lo and behold, that admission didn't come. So I was so discouraged. I felt so bad. I won't say I was depressed, but I didn't know what to do again because I felt like, God, is it that I'm doing something wrong? Or it was there, I couldn't see why I couldn't get that admission at that point. So my dad started to notice that it was already beginning to affect me in my moods and all of that. So he said, okay, just go somewhere else for a while and just try and relax. So my sister had recently gotten married and she moved to Lagos. So he said, okay, go and spend Christmas with your sister, come back in January, then we'll think of what to do again. So I came to stay with my sister in December. I wasn't even with myself, like, but we talked about Obile and all of that. Yeah. I was not even in that mood. I just wanted to be in the room, and I was thinking about my life, literally. So on the 31st of December, we were at the crossover service at House on the Rock. Then that's the church my sister attends. And I remember when he made a call for us to just go on our knees and talk to God and tell God what we wanted. That was 2021. He said we should talk to God about what we wanted. So at that point, I was broken. I was discouraged. And I just went back to God. And I literally just cried on that altar that night. And I begged God because I started to feel like, I graduated almost 3 years ago. Yes, I already had one diploma already, but it felt like everybody else around me started progressing. They were in their 200 level, they were in their 300 level. And not to bring down anybody, but these were people that I was doing better than in school. Yeah. But they were advancing, and it felt like I wasn't. Even though some people felt, you graduated already, that's something. But I knew what I wanted for myself, and I knew that wasn't it. So I just went to God at that point, and I was like, God, just have your way. I'm tired of trying. I've tried year after year after year, and it seems like nothing was working. So I cried to God that night, and the only thing God said to me was, I will restore it all. And that was the word I held at that House on the Rock meeting. When God just told me I will restore it all, I said, okay. So the new month came, January. My sister went to buy my admission form, to do the processing for admission in Lit City University here in Ibadan. And when she came back and she told me she has bought the form for me, I was like, what are you trying to do? This is a private institution. Just to give you a backstory, both my parents are missionaries, so they left active service when I was in SS2. So my parents have been missionaries since then, so they've not been working, basically just doing the work for God. So we move around a lot. So I was like, and two of my other siblings were in school as well. And then I was like, how will you buy form for a private university? Where do you want daddy to get that kind of money from? When she even told my dad was like, it's okay, let's go, God will provide. And I kept insisting that no, I don't want to put anybody under that kind of financial stress. But my parents kept insisting that go, God will provide. And truly, that was my story for 3 years in Lit City University. In my final year, I was paying almost ₦1 million, and that was a lot for my family back then. But God just always had a way that He met us every time the school fees came. The money would come. So many people didn't even know I was in private school because my dad didn't want anybody to know. So he didn't want people to start to feel like, you're a missionary, you're asking us for money to send your daughter to a private school. So he said he was not going to ask anybody, that God was going to provide, and God did not disappoint him. Wow. Not once did I ever have
let me
any
say this.
reason.
So some of us that have parents that can pay, you don't know what it's like for those that have to trust God to be paid. You don't know what it's like. Because when you call home, before you even call, they have sent. So when some people are believing God that God will pay, you don't get it. Because you are from two different tracks.
Okay, so just to come back to Pastor's question on how I adjusted, it was hard.
Yes.
It was very,
she had
very
problem
hard.
with rent, with food, cost of food.
It was.
She said, Pastor, I think things are very expensive here.
Yes. No, it's the truth. Ibadan is so expensive. I was used to the north where anywhere I was going to, one bike can take me there and it will even be up to 100 naira. And we'll still buy, Malam, what's that now? 17 naira. And we'll still go. But I get
17 naira. You can imagine.
But I kept saying, if you don't start doing all those, if you're not good, come down now. Show me software. I was like, God. It was so hard. For the longest time, I didn't even like going out because I wasn't used to people behaving that way. I was used to the calm nature of... I stayed in a very calm part of the north. I know that there are some areas with tension, but Bauchi State was relatively peace for the 19 years that I spent there. So we only had a few issues, but relatively it was fine. So I didn't ever have any issues of, somebody is talking to me in a certain way. They were even very nice to us because they knew we were none other than us, but we were living in the north. So everybody was very receptive. They were very accepting. Only for me to come here. I remember one particular instance, I was trying to go and visit one of my dad's uncles. And I came here to New Garage because he told me, come to, just when you get there, take any bike and tell them you are coming to a Level Junction. When you get there, call me. I'll come and pick you with the car. I said, okay. the mistake I made was not to ask him, how much, sir? Got to New Garage. I was speaking English. My uncle said I should come to a level junction. I don't know the place. Please, can you take, I even added, please. Please, can you take me there? I was like, no, I can carry you there. I said, how much? He said, 2,000. I said, guys, it's too much now. He started shouting. I was like, sir, please, I don't have that kind of money. He was like, do you know what we'll do? I'll take you 1.5. Nobody in this place will do that for you. Oh, Lord, you don't see anybody that will carry you that amount. In my naive nature, I accepted it and I took that bike 1.5.
Oh God. Oh God. Oh God.
When my uncle found out, he was seared. So when I got to know that, I was in my little naive mind that I was like, why would someone just want to take advantage of another person? Just because they knew. That was not something I was used to. I was used to just saying, I need help, and help would be given to me in the north. Not knowing that here, even if you don't need help, even if you need help, behave like you don't need help. That's the way to move.
All right, so let's talk about, which course were you admitted for?
I was admitted to study public health.
Okay, so what happened?
Okay, so when I got admission into public health, I also came in the middle of the semester. So struggling with my language barriers and everything I was going through, the feeling of wondering how was I even going to pay for this degree. It was hard on me. I was missing my family. I didn't know anybody here for the longest time. There was almost a particular time I was crying almost every day, and I kept calling my dad. I don't think I can do this. I want to come home. I want to come home.
The dad had to come and check her.
My dad had to drive all the way from Bauchi State to come and see me here in Ibadan. He came to see me. He cooked home meals that I was used to. So yes, I have very high expectations of someone. So he did that for me, and he prayed with me. He stayed with me a few days just to encourage me. And when he did that, and after he left, that was when I determined that I was going to make the most of this opportunity that God had given to me through my family. So I started to do it. I started to put in the work. I came in the middle of 200 level as a summer student. So you know how universities are. All the cliques had been formed. Everybody knew their friends. Nobody wanted to talk to the new girl that was from the north. So my first friends were actually the northerners. So that was where I started to mix up. So it was after my grades came out. And I did very well. That's when everybody started to talk to me. Oh, that's that girl. So from there, it was just from... I think that was where the power of God really started to show in my story, because it was like God just decided that he was going to make a name for himself through my life. So many people looked at me and they wondered, she studied in Bauchi State. Us, we've been here in the Southwest, because the Southwest is known for academics and all of that. They kept thinking, she will not be able to do well. But it was like God just kept saying, just hold my water and watch me do my work. So my second year, my third year, my fourth year, I excelled academically. I graduated as the second best graduating student in my department in public health. So from there, it was just, there were so many things going on. During my fourth year in school, I started getting close to some of my lecturers, so they started nominating me for conferences, and they were paying for everything. They were paying for, I attended some here in Ibadan, I attended one in Lagos. He paid for my accommodation, my feeding, everything, and I won Best Oral Abstract Presenter at one of those conferences that he sponsored me for in Lagos. So when I graduated from school, at that point, I just decided that when God, sometimes it seems like we hold on to certain doors and we're just trying to push it and we're insisting that this is the door that I want to open. But God is just saying, I have something so much better in store for you. And the funny thing is that Bayero University that man was pushing for, when I was not trying, because I was a direct entry student, so I had to process JAMB admissional letter, because LITIT just gives admission. Then later on, you go back to get the admission letter and all of that. I discovered that admission was actually on my portal. Bayero University actually gave me the admission that man was.
They blocked it so the other person can take it.
But it was just like, after it didn't work, when the man kept saying, don't worry, I had moved on. And I felt like God intentionally allowed me to move on because of what he had in store for me. So when I even saw the admission, I laughed. I called my dad. He was like, you don't mean it. I was like, this admission has been there since. I didn't accept or reject it. I had to just reject it so that I could get the admission letter. But I was so glad that God did that. I was so glad that God held on to that door that I was insistently trying to open through my own strength and through my own might. So after I finished from Lead City, I started waiting on my NYSC. It was like, Lead City, there's drama there, but it took so long, and I kept wondering, okay, what's next? What's next? So I started to think about it. Oh, what was I going to do? When my HOD reached out to me, and he was like, okay, because he was my supervisor for my project. So I reached out to him, and I was like, I want to publish my project. Because I got interested in research. I was writing projects for students already, even before I graduated from school. So I was like, I'm interested in research, and I want to make my final year thesis good enough to be published on a journal. So he was like, that's good. So we started to work on it again. I needed to come back, collect some data, and do all of that. And to the glory of God, I got my paper published with the BMC journal. So if you're in that academics line, that was a big feat for me. So when I was able to do that, I was like, okay, if you can do this, you can do more. So within that space of graduating from school till now, I have 3 published papers already in academic journals. So after I did that, then also, there was also another thing. I mentioned earlier that I sometimes felt shame or somehow just disturbed about it, especially being a Yoruba girl. And I speak Hausa more than I speak Yoruba. And then I came to stay in Ibadan. There's a way sometimes they will say certain things. After a while, I started to pick it up. So there's a way people look at you that, you're Yoruba girl, you don't know how to speak Yoruba. And I'm like, I can't explain it. So I always felt that way, that why can't I would have preferred if I could speak my native language and not a foreign language. But it was like God was still just, hold on, I'm still going to use this for something. So earlier this year, my HOD recommended me for a project sponsored by the Federal Ministry of Health here in Nigeria. So there's a SAMAN project which involves the safety and distribution of azithromycin vaccine. So it's a qualitative study. So he recommended it for me. I went there for the interview. All my qualifications were fine and all of that. But the minute they found out that I could speak Hausa, that was my entry point. I immediately got the offer. So they called me. They sponsored me to Kano in March. All flights paid for, accommodations paid for a period of 1 week. I still got paid in 6 digits for it when I came back. They reached out to me again last month. I was in Adamawa State, Gombe State, and Yobe State. All fully paid, flights paid, all expense paid, just because I could speak Hausa. So it was like God took that one thing that I looked as a disadvantage, and He made it my biggest advantage in the rooms that I started to enter. A language that I looked at as a barrier has opened platforms for me on a national stage. So I just want to say this to encourage anybody that is struggling with holding on to a closed door, or struggling with just wondering, God, why does it seem like people are moving forward and it feels like I'm stuck in one place? I would just say trust God and let go of the things that you feel like are best for you, and let God show you what is actually the best for you. Because sometimes your best stories are not the things that you write for yourselves. It is when you begin to allow God write those stories for yourself. So thank you very much.
Awesome. So we are not ended. So now say the last one.
Okay, so another thing, I mentioned about my NYSC. So that one came very at the last minute because I was not even ready for the stress. So I did my applications, I submitted everything. I was expecting that I would get called up with this batch, but I got called up with batch B stream 2. So the camp was supposed to open on Wednesday. I saw my call-up number, my call-up letter Tuesday. I was like, what is this? And wait for it. They posted me to Abia State. I was like, God, what's all this? Because there was not even time for me to say, I wanted to do a direct posting. And because of the experience I had already with coming to the South, I was like, okay, if God wants me to go there, He will still make me prosperous in that land. So I went to camp on Thursday because I needed time to prepare. So I traveled there on Thursday. I got to camp. I settled in. It was nice, learning a new culture and exploring the 21 days there. Shortly before the camp closed, my HOD called me again. He was like, where are you? I said, I'm in camp. He said, camp where? I said, Abby. I said, that can't work. I said, why, sir? He said, a graduate position opened. That's a graduate assistant opened. A position opened at Leeds City University. And he said, I have recommended you for it already, and you have the job, so you have to come back to Ibadan. I was like, sir, I'm already here. I don't think there's anything we can do about it. He said, no, that's not going to work. You have to come back. So he took it upon himself. He started sourcing for the people that would do the redeployment for me. He got someone, asked me to send my details, covered for it, and made sure that I came back to Ibadan. just so that I could get that graduate assistant position. And I was so God, what's all this? And that's one thing that God has constantly done. He has constantly put people in places that advocate for me that I cannot even step into. Because why would he just wake up one morning and say, this girl, you have to come back? And that's something I see myself coming back to academics and giving it back my all. So starting as a graduate assistant at my age, and I don't even feel like I'm qualified for the role, but God qualified me, and I'm so thankful for that.
Can you jam your hands together and let's celebrate God? Is there anybody under the sound of my voice that you are thinking that is over? That after listening to this testimony, you are just learning that you are just beginning? I don't know what it is you are trusting God for. Whatever you are trusting God for. We have had 3 testimonies. But has it been lovely listening to testimonies? We have not listened to scriptures. We have listened to what scriptures can do. Yeah. The Bible said, Revelation chapter 12 and verse 11, they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the words of their testimonies. Some people will not get it because they heard the scripture. Some people will get it because God did it for A. God did it for B. I want somebody under the sound of my voice to just lift up your voice and talk to God. What do you want God to do for you?